Why don't basketball players go on vacation? Because they'd get called for traveling. Now, speaking of traveling, let's dive into an unforgettable NBA game. Imagine going to a movie, expecting a romantic comedy, but instead, you're met with an action-packed thriller. That's precisely how this game unfolded. It started off as an expected face-off between two well-matched teams, but what transpired was akin to finding a $100 bill in your old pair of jeans. The first quarter was like a polite conversation at a dinner table, each team carefully measuring the other, passing the ball around and scoring a few points. Just when we thought it was going to be a game of predictable plays, the second quarter hit us like a surprise party. One of the players, who up until then had been as noticeable as a wallflower at a disco, suddenly sprung into action. His performance was like when you accidentally add an extra scoop of chili powder to your soup, and it sets your mouth on fire, but in a good way. He was making shots from places on the court that seemed as impossible as finding a parking spot in downtown during peak hours. As the game progressed, the twists and turns were more unexpected than the plot of a murder mystery novel. Each team was stealing points and the lead like a cat burglar in the night. Fouls were being called like a strict teacher during an exam, and the players were shooting three-pointers like they were going out of fashion. The final quarter was like the climax of a blockbuster movie. The score was neck and neck, and the tension was thicker than Grandma's homemade gravy. It came down to the last few seconds, and then, out of nowhere, a shot was made that had everyone gasping more than a horror movie jump scare. And that, folks, was the game that had more twists and turns than a roller coaster. Who knew basketball could be this entertaining? You know how in movies, there's always that underdog who comes out of nowhere and saves the day? Well, the NBA has its share of those too. Just imagine it's the fourth quarter, the crowd is roaring, and suddenly a player who's been quietly dribbling on the sideline steps up to the free throw line. This guy isn't the star player. He's not the one whose face is on all the merchandise. He's the one who's usually blending into the background, like an extra in a big blockbuster movie, but not today. Today, he's stepping up, ready to take the lead. Take the case of our very own Cinderella man. One minute he's wiping sweat off the bench, the next he's swishing three-pointers like he's born to do it. His transformation was so swift, you'd think he was bitten by a radioactive basketball. Or how about the time when a second-string point guard, who usually has as much screen time as a tree in a forest scene, suddenly became the hero of the day. With a flick of his wrist, he turned the tide of the game and left the audience wondering if they had accidentally walked into an alternate universe. Then there's the story of the guy who was so far down the bench he was practically in the stands. He was called onto the court, probably because everyone else had fouled out. But lo and behold, he played like a dream, scoring point after point and making the crowd go wild. It was like watching a stagehand suddenly taking over the lead role in a Broadway show. And let's not forget the rookie who was so green, he could have been mistaken for a mascot. He was thrown into the game with seconds left on the clock, and what does he do? He scores the winning basket. It was like watching a movie where the clumsy sidekick suddenly becomes the superhero. So, next time you watch a game, don't just look at the stars. You never know which player will jump out of the shadows and into the spotlight. Well, folks, we've had some fun today, diving into the unpredictable world of the NBA. But before we go, let's wrap things up with a chuckle. Remember when we talked about the traveling incident? It seems like our players might need a vacation after that roller coaster of a game. Talk about a frequent flyer program, am I right? And let's not forget our unlikely heroes. Who would have thought that the bench warmers would end up being the stars of the show? It's as if they were waiting for their Cinderella moment, and boy did they seize it. Maybe they were just practicing their dance moves for the victory party, but those slam dunks sure looked like ballet to me. In the NBA, it's as if we're constantly on a movie set, the suspense, the drama, the last-minute plot twists. It's like watching a thriller film, but with a lot more sweat and a lot less popcorn. And there you have it, the NBA, where the unexpected is the norm. Underdogs can be heroes, and vacation days are hard to come by. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And remember, every day is a good day for basketball, and a laugh or two.